So this isn't our project, just to say, with all respect to whoever designed that. It's one of the projects in Africa, and if you're interested, the underbelly and the horn plots are still for sale, so you could be part of it. We believe it's not about designing from the air, it's about all the things we're applying and doing in UK and Europe. So contextual design is very important, regardless where you're designing, what part of the world. And this is one of the projects we've been working in Luanda, Angola, which we were fortunate to have a 1 week long trip with our clients who organized our helicopter flight over Luanda, because it's the only way how you're actually going to see the city. And we had to really understand the context we're designing in. In Africa, it's all about understanding what you're dealing with, as anywhere else, really. And we had 3 sites, altogether around 800 hectares. One of them was regeneration of favelas, which was a tricky subject. One of them was new employment site, and the third one was the new satellite city outside Luanda. So when we flew over, we kind of understood the scale of the issue. Just to give you an understanding, it's approximately 2 million people living currently in favelas in Luanda. So kind of decanting strategy could be quite tricky if you think about this. What we realized flying over Luanda and driving over through favelas, that actually it looks like a chaos, but when you really think about this and when you really look into the image, it's quite organized chaos. So all the blue cars is a public transport, sort of public transport. You have a lot of courtyard developments. You've got preciously kept trees and any greenery they can hold on to. You've got certain social aspects you would see more talking to people and understanding there is a very neat social network, and wherever you structure your relocating and moving people around, you really have to take this into consideration. I think I'm a great believer that kind of spending your time investigating the subject matter is a very important thing, and you learn a lot from that. And that's the photo which is, to me, capturing the spirit of Angolans. Because in one breath you've got the petrol station, the bar, and the grill place, followed closely by the washroom, car wash. So it's very entrepreneurial spirit. People who've been torn by 13 years of civil war, actually, you know, they're using their imagination and they make most of it. And how we then applying it in our design is that when we were looking at the typologies, we investigated greatly live-work units, because the whole business at the ground level of your apartment was something which will definitely appeal to residents. When we're looking at our employment sides, we've been looking at the startup businesses and business incubators, which are important. And then we had this 1 week very intense session with both our client, the local government, and one of the things we are great believers is that we don't know how to do everything. So we work with a great bunch of people from all sorts of walks of life. Some of them were experts from Lisbon University who were advising us on education, agriculture, socioeconomics, sustainability. We worked with guys from São Paulo who were experts on regeneration and regeneration of favelas, which is a very tricky subject. So we all together gathered in a room, and for a week we kind of brainstormed different ideas. And at the beginning of the process, there was a little bit, from the academic side of the group, there was a little bit of hesitation. You know, how can you draw if you don't have your data? And actually in Africa, data is not something you really easily gather. And that would be another anecdote with one of my colleagues told me when we worked on one of the previous projects in Africa. They've been invited to see Minister of Transport, sat in their room. The guy walked out of the room, and they've been naughty, I shouldn't say that, but there was a folder on a shelf which says transport strategy. So they picked up the folder, looked in, and there was 1 page. That's kind of a summary how built up the data of Africa is, or some of the countries. So we had to be creative with what we've got. We're hands-on. This is actually 2 of our directors drawing the plan. And it was very intense, but it's kind of part of the fun. And then we will bring it back to the team, and we feedback all the responses. It makes the process much easier. So the third project I mentioned, we were working on a new satellite city, and I put this image in, which is the watercolor impression of it, more to kind of illustrate that we always work with private clients, and we have to understand their needs and what drives them. But this example shows us that sometimes we choose to challenge clients, because that city was designed or was chosen the site because it was given to them in a great distance from actual capital city, with no roads to get to, and all the green spaces in between the build-up areas were ravines of 30 meters deep. So the constraints of affordability and connectivity were enormous. So part of our design was to highlight it to them that actually it might be as rosy as you hope. So we work with the constraints, but we kind of trying to make most of it, but we're highlighting the issues and constraints. So we talked about the contextual design, as you would do in UK and anywhere. Same with the engaging with the end user. And personally, I started working in UAE 5 years ago, and when we started working there, we've realized, well, why won't we do the consultation with residents and Emiratis? And nobody was really doing it. It was a little bit crazy for them. So we engaged with Urban Planning Council, which is a planning authority, and decided that, well, why not? How otherwise are you going to understand your end user? How are you going to design all those houses? There's so many culture differences. I mean, they're similar, but a little bit different. So we've think really good that our client was very understanding and encouraged us to do that. We managed to get a group of locals. Obviously, it wasn't a perfect selection through the society, but you never get that. But it was, there were 2 sessions, female and male, which was very interesting. I've been told that ladies not going to speak much because they're very shy, and believe me, they were not. They were very outspoken. And we got, so that was in relation to one of the projects we were working on. But we started building up a data of information, which was very handy for all the projects we're doing in UAE, and we're doing quite a few. And there was a second workshop we ran, and it was related to the project we've been doing for Royal Family, which is 200 hectares, low-density, high-end villa development on the edge of very sensitive site, which is the Mangrove National Park. What we wanted to find out, what is the drivers behind, why people buying certain plots, what is driving the decisions, how they're using the open spaces, how they create the community. So we created this mock-up village, and then every participant had to come to the estate agent and buy the plot, but explain what were the drivers behind buying the plot. And what we found from that was, for instance, the plots all located near the mosque were going very fast, because if you're supposed to go there 5 times a day, when it's closed, it's convenient. Although when we had then a kind of a recap afterwards, a lot of experts were saying, actually they were saying it because it's the right thing to say, but they really didn't believe that. Secondly, all the open spaces were going very fast. So plots next to the open spaces were selling like very fast. So we were like, it's appreciation for open space. It's great. Actually, it was very quickly when they start designing things around in the plot, they just use it as expansion zone for a garage or more of a house. So that wasn't quite what we had in mind. There were some things which were very interesting when they were talking about community facilities. They were talking about a women's center, which is, it's a place where women hang out and do all the great things together. So there's some things which you have to take into account when you're planning, and you can't just apply, all good UK stuff. You have to actually do the spin on it. And one of in the female session, which I found absolutely fascinating, when we were talking about family, I was trying to stipulate a conversation, and I was talking about different elements, and then all of a sudden I realized, when I say family, when I was younger, I thought my mom, my dad, my brother, my dog. And then all of a sudden I thought, when you say your family, what do you mean? And then I started listing all these people. I went to 25 people. Because what they do, they have, not all of them, but a lot, Emiratis live in extended family, which is a unit where a son, the new wife moves in with the son in the household, then they've got the kids, and they all have drivers and maids and cook, and all of a sudden it's this enormous unit. And some of the things were highlighted. We're talking about 2 entrances for male and female, and different takes from both groups, if they liked it or not, and women didn't really like that idea that much.
No.
He used to see me. I'm not going to. Not appropriate for camera. Anyway, there is a majlis you need to take into account, which is the. It's like a TV room in Europe, but actually it's when the male gather together. When the strangers come to the house, that's where they all hang out. And the women sit in a different angle, edge of the plot. And the one really interesting thing is about open space. You know, when we design plots in UK, it's all about, you know, I really want to have a good garden. And actually, they want a garden because it's an expansion zone. When another son moves in and you need to expand the house, that's where you go. And I don't blame them, because I remember coming to the UAE first time, and there were two of us with Ed and talking about walkability. It's going to be, you know, great. You have to really walk everywhere. And then we walked, and it was 42 degrees, and we thought, maybe not. So you have to kind of understand the climate. And can we move to the next one, please? So that was that we were researching all this for this particular project, which is on the edge of the National Mangrove Park, as I mentioned, and it's interesting as well culture difference. Half of it is 200 hectares, half of it is done for the royal family, half of it is done for private developer, and all the plots within the royal family plot to be given to Emiratis. So nice thing. Who will mind that? Move to the next one. Some of the conversations were very important as well about, this is another view from the same scheme, but we were talking about open spaces, because we great believers not only about if you understand your house and you understand the buildings, it's that all the spaces in between which are really important. And part of the workshop, can you move to the next one, please? And part of the workshop, can you move to the next one, please? Was understanding the open spaces. And again, women were very vocal here because of the quite a big family, large families. You have quite a lot of kids, and they said, actually, in Abu Dhabi you have a lot of open spaces, but you know, you have no facilities, you have no program. So it's a piece of grass, and if one of my 3 kids wants to go to the bathroom, I have to drive every time on the other side of the town. So they said it is not really usable. So we kind of started talking about how would they use the open spaces and ran some ideas by them. And one of the ideas we had as a team was looking at the, you know, like Far East, looking at the open spaces, how in a similar climate they use, they do the outdoor gym. And we thought, you know, it would be a great thing. Maybe they can all just sit in the park and practice and whatever. And we said to women, would you be using it? Would you be interested in that? And they said, well, we wouldn't, but we wouldn't mind watching men doing it. So it's all good. So there's quite a lot of good things you learn, but you can apply them, obviously, selectively into the certain aspect of your design. That's one of the other images on one of the other projects in UAE, in Abu Dhabi. We mainly work in Abu Dhabi. It's kind of a little bit more real place than Dubai is. But one of the things Abu Dhabi has in common that it has this enormous, the vast waterfront, and it's incredibly beautiful. But actually you can't touch the water. So one of the main objectives for Urban Planning Council, who we're working with very closely, is to say, actually you have all this waterfront, make sure that people can touch the water, can come down, have the steps, and there's an opportunity to enjoy this beautiful setting. Because if you won't take care of your own spaces, people will. And that's a photo we took in Dubai, which I thought is fantastic, and it captures everything. If you won't design your public spaces well, people will take care of it. It won't be great, but it will be functional. A lot of people think that every project in UAE, or Middle East, is all about piece of desert, and here you go. Just go and design whatever you fancy. Actually, some of them are regeneration projects, and this is one of the first projects we've done in Abu Dhabi, which is regeneration of old port. He's spinning me up, and it's 800 hectares. It's 800 hectares of the master plan with mixed use, 115,000 people, and we've been working with planning authority. You can just do that. I'm just going to go. We've been working with Urban Planning Council and testing different things we've learned on the different projects, and it's been very successful so far, so fingers crossed. But sometimes it is a patch of desert in the middle of nowhere, and we deal with that as well. So that was me. Thank you.